Hi, I'm Kevin Tame, and this is Deck Matchups. Today I'm going to be talking about the Comrades Val deck and some of the key matchups that I played over the past week. So the Comrades Val deck is really event heavy, and one kind of notable thing about it is it doesn't have Ma as a console like a lot of the other Val or Max decks. So its focus here is to really just kind of have good accesses on HQ or on remotes, deal with assets when they are a problem, and then just use indexing to win out in Mad Dash. One of the other kind of key pieces to it is the Film Critic. The Film Critic is good in the Jinteki match. It allows you to be able to steal Obokata, and it also allows you any type of uh, deck like Scorpios where they want to Hunter Seeker you or anything like that. It's a really powerful deck. Turning Wheel is another one of its key multi-access that you can kind of charge up by pressuring the servers and keep hitting over and over. Amakua is there also as well to be able to get it charged up and make the ice a lot cheaper, because the Conspiracy Breakers are good that they can be installed from the heat, but Black Orchestra and MK Ultra are kind of a pain with really big ice, specifically like DNA Tracker, Fairchild 3. They can just be a real pain. Another, I think, really important piece to this is the Rebirth. The Rebirth helps you in matchups like PU and the Kill CI. So let's jump into a few of these matchups. The CI Kill matchup, these go pretty fast, and the ones that I faced, you want to dig really hard for your mercs. And then once you can get your mercs down, you need to have another resource down, like your liberated, something that can just be there so that they can't use best defense on your mercs. So the other thing you want to do is you want to use Turtle to be able to get in past the Mother Goddess. Uh, another Rebirth is also really important to this deck, because to beat this deck is because they can only really defend 2 servers. So if you have your mercs down, it makes it really difficult for them to kill you, and so they need to be able to they need to be able to kind of score out. And so what they'll do is they'll have a remote, or they'll try and jam something out, and then that allows you to kind of force them to res the Mother Goddess, and then they have to maybe get rid of the other Mother Goddess. Um, it's it's a tough match because it goes really fast, and so you got to draw up and get your stuff. This is the CI Wilfie. This is the reversed Stinson deck. This is a decent matchup. It's not the best, but what you really want to do is you want to just make sure you stay above 6 credits, and keep pressuring using Turning Wheel over and over again to dig. This doesn't have a lot of recursion or a way to deal with indexing, so you can index them pretty good, and if you can hit a elective upgrades, it's a guaranteed. It's not a guaranteed way, but it's going to really help for you to be able to score out. One kind of key thing here is that with the MCA austerity, what you want to do is you want to use. I find stim hack to be really helpful to stim hack in, so you don't go down below the credits that you need. So stim hack when it has 2 counters on it, and go in and trash it. It is a hard matchup, but it is beatable. So the CI Moons, really good matchup for against against CI Moons, because you have Hacktivist. Just kind of you want to keep Hacktivist on the board, and so whenever they res an asset, they have to trash. And then another really great card is Film Critic against Lakshmi. The main scoring out plan in a lot of these Moons decks is to use Lakshmi and lean really hard on it. So since you have Film Critic, you're able to they can't reliably use Lakshmi. Sandberg can be a problem, but that's why you have Stim Hack to kind of for those key runs. Oftentimes, what you'll see as well in some of these decks is an Ashigaru. Paperclip isn't horrible again. I guess it's really bad when they have like 22 cards in hand. but you can get in when you need to because you have one of the better breakers in paperclip. The CTM match is also a pretty decent one because of hacktivists. They want to be installing assets. One thing that you are able to do is one of the, I think, kind of key strategies is to run early and try and stay below 5 credits, so you can deal with the Moonbat Virtual Tour, and then use like your Liberated to offshore that to like go back up above 8. Another thing is Film Critic is your real big friend here, because the scoring out plan a lot of times is to stack up data ravens so that, and then they over advance a quantum predictive model. So what you can do is you can take the tag, go in, and use Film Critic to get the quantum predictive model, and then you can clear the tag. So what you really want to be careful of is a lot of them run a C source. And so if you can't keep their board under control by trashing the commercial bankers and they get ahead of you, they're going to C source you and then exchange the global food. So the way to really win this game is to steal all of their quantum predictive models or their AR security and the Beals. Because if you get a global food and they have an opportunity, they're going to try and exchange it for you. That's their main way to get through that. The Hydra build, I actually faced this a few times, and it wasn't that bad because you have Film Critic. You're able to get the Obokata. One thing that I found as well is that if you can just keep giving them mining accident, you have a lot of money to be able to get through. The matches that I played, though, they didn't have IT department out, and they weren't able to get it going. So it really wasn't too oppressive for me. You often will see sometimes what they'll do is they will also click up an MCA austerity to be able to score out an Obokata. If they get out a few Niseis, it can be a real challenge. You have to also be really careful of the Tithonium. Since you have paperclip, it's not as big of a deal, but if you hit a Tithonium with a lot of IT department counters on it, it can be really a real pain. But however, since you have your breakers that can come back, it's not as big of a deal. The way I've won these matches is just by indexing and then camping the remote as best I can. What they'll often do is they also have Excalibur that they'll put in their deck, or Mother Goddess. And so what you need to try to be able to do is keep your turtle counter up. A common play that I've had happen to me is I will run in, hit an Excalibur, and then I can't break it, and then they will use the Ag Infusion to throw me somewhere else, and then that leaves it open so that they can score. It's a really effective plan for them to score out Niseis and whatnot. This is a match that can be beat, but it is once again a challenge. But Film Critic is really helpful. The PU match, the main goal of the PU match is just a death by a million cuts. Luckily, you have Val, who has 50 cards, and then also you have Film Critic to be able to steal the Obokata. One of my favorite plays here is to get the turning wheel out and to keep hitting Kakugo over and over, just running into it and then bouncing off, because you're not taking the net damage and you're just charging up your turning wheel counter. And then what you do is you can rebirth, and they only have 3 Kakugos, so you can spread out their Kakugos. So typically what you'll see is they might have it on HQ and R&D, and then they'll put the Kakugo on a remote. And then what you can do is you can rebirth, and then you have an open archives to be able to get into HQ and R&D. And if you're charging up your turning wheel counter, you can get a few accesses. It's not good to do big digs because they have a lot of traps. So you might just go in and see 2 or 3 cards, and then with that Film Critic, you're able to put the Obokata in. It's actually this deck, Comrades Val, was designed to beat this Jinteki PU deck, so it's a pretty good matchup, but it is a little bit grindy. Jinteki PE. These PE decks oftentimes, there's kind of a few types that I've seen. There is more of a glacier type of build, which I'm referencing here with the Ben Musashi and the Data Loop and the Kakugo. So what they'll do is they will make a remote that has Data Loop and Kakugo and then Ben Musashi and then put Obokata in there and try and score it. And it becomes where you just need a lot of cards to be able to steal. So Film Critic is your friend in this situation. There's other type of PE builds that I've seen, but they are more of like a trap base, and they have Ronins and they have June bugs, and you just need to be smart about it. Um, and when they like the most difficult to deal with is the Mushin Advance Once type of Jinteki PE decks, because you're going to be taking a lot of damage, and it also sets them up for like a Ronin, and you don't really know exactly what it is. But I'm kind of the type of player where I'll check everything. So I played a few of these. I won. I played three, I think, total, where they were the trap based ones, and I won two of them. One of them I just face checked into a something big. Might have been a Project June bug, and it was what it was. So sometimes that happens. So Titan, the problem with Titan is it sometimes can get away from you. If they can get on a roll scoring, then you'll lose. Colossus, I actually found sometimes it's just okay to run through Colossus and just them trash your program and take a tag and then clear it. One thing you do not want to do is you do not want to hit a Hortum that has been advanced 3 times. So if they priority construction a Hortum and then you don't have Black Orchestra, that is really bad, because it gives them 2 cards that they can add to HQ, and those 2 cards can set them up to win the game. They can pull in a Trick of Light and an Atlas really fast. And once they kind of get that going, it's hard to stop. One of the strategies I use to win this game is rebirthing and being able to you can go to Ed Kim if you want to like hit Trick of Lights. Oftentimes I just go to Omar so that I can get more accesses, and then just use Turning Wheel and indexing to close out the game. If you steal an Atlas, you're in good shape. Scorpios. So with Scorpios, they're going to be trying to use Hunter Seeker. The biggest problem with Scorpios is Marcus Batty. It's not stealing agendas. Because you have Film Critic, you are able to steal with impunity and not have to worry about Hunter Seeker. But the bigger problem is when you run into a server and they Marcus Batty and then they win, and then they'll trash one of your resources with Tithonium, trashing your program or trashing one of your programs. So what I found is I never really wanted to play Inject because I didn't want to lose breakers. So I'd always draw up for my breakers and hold them in hand. And if I lost one of my any of my breakers, then I would just have them in hand. But the other thing about it too is you also want to hold on to your Film Critic, because if they'll be able to get rid of your Film Critic or your Turning Wheel. You have 2 of them, so try and not pitch those or overdraw those. Like those are kind of the key ones you want to hold on to. Now for the Wayland Gagron builds, these are typically prison decks, and the way you deal with these is just controlling their assets and keeping up money. Trash the Museum of History, trash the Illegal Arms Factory, the Commercial Bankers, anytime you get them. The Illegal Arms Factory is actually a very powerful card for them, and what it does is it allows them to draw into their pieces faster. So it's really expensive to trash, but you do get a bad pub for trashing it. I think it's worth it to trash it just because the draw is such a problem. If they only have 1 hard-hitting news or 1 C source, they have a lot of 1-ofs in these decks, and so being able to keep them from not drawing a lot really helps. And then Tour Guide is one of the things they really lean on. If they can lock you out and get a lot of assets out, then Tour Guide is really difficult to deal with. So what I find is if I can control their assets, then I'm in good shape. And the best thing about it is you already start with a bad pub, so the paying one is already free. Lean into mining accidents, get a lot of bad pub, and then it's a way for you to deal with all of their assets. So those are some of the matchups that I played and that I faced. I played a few other random ones. I think this is a really strong deck. Um, it feels like really fair Netrunner, and it just has lots of good economy, lots of good events, and the breakers, just being able to pull them from the bin is incredibly powerful. Black Orchestra and MK Ultra aren't the most efficient, but when you need them, they're there. One of the tricks that I used constantly with Fairchild 3 was I would install Black Orchestra and then I would use Black Orchestra and then trash it. So as one of the instead of paying the three, just as a way to get through uh, and have more money. I totally recommend this deck. It's a fun deck to play. It it's just an all around good deck. So thanks for listening to deck matchups, and this was the Comrades Val deck, and I'll check you later. Thanks. Bye.